Hello, everyone. Welcome to Week 41, 2025. This is our picks of the week. We've got two markets for you that we're going to outline. That's going to be the Kiwi CAD, the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar, and then also the Euro USD. Everybody's pretty much familiar with the Euro dollar. We're also going to check in on our metals markets here relatively briefly. Before we get started, the key events for this week are going to be Wednesday's FOMC minutes. You've got Friday, potentially that NFP report. If the government isn't shut down, we should get that on the 10th there. That's going to be Friday morning at about 8 to 8:30 Eastern time before the U.S. Open. And then we've also got another key event that's coming up relatively quickly, and that's going to be the RBNZ interest rate decision. That's going to be early on in that Wednesday session. So right here, I'm looking at the Kiwi CAD, sort of one of our big pairs for the week. It's all about key levels. When it comes down to markets and all the different ways that we price them and have auctions, key levels are very important. And for me, key levels are big round numbers, Fibonacci retracements, maybe where longer-term moving averages sort of converge with price action. For the Kiwi CAD right now, we're looking at the key levels to the top side of 82 even in 82.50. We should be able to get maybe a little bit of short-term resistance up in here. And you'll notice if you're a smart money trader or a smart money concept trader, you've got that double top that developed back in the middle of middle of September, and you're up there right around 82.71, and that's going to be a key level to watch as well. So probably 82.75, 82.50, and 82. Interesting places potentially to make maybe some intraday trades, and we'll cover those as warranted as the week goes on. What we do want to point out here, though, is on this daily chart, we have a potential swing trade opportunity to the long setting up on the 920 EMA crossover. Now, you'll notice that we sort of are working a short signal right there. This was a nice purple bar. Remember, this is our coded 920 EMA. Sort of suggests there's a bit of a short here. You've already got a few points, but now we're sort of rotating back up against this short. In my view, I'm looking for a long to develop here as soon as we get the 9 to cross over the 20, then potentially go long back up to 82 or 82.50. One of the reasons why you'll notice is you sort of already traded and established sort of a swing low down there, right around 80.26, 80 even being the catalyst for that bounce. So right at this juncture, I think that you probably want to be looking towards the bullish side of things to do business to the long side of the market. But in order to do that, we've got to have a way in. And for me right now, I'm looking at the pending 920 EMA crossover. As soon as we get this crossover to develop, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, then we'll have an opportunity potentially to trade. Okay, so that's a good look at the Kiwi CAD. One of the reasons the Kiwi CAD is going to be important this week, you've got an active crude oil market, but you've also got the need to diversify. We talked about this in the newsletter. Sometimes when you have a bunch of key events that face the U.S. dollar, FOMC minutes, NFP, sometimes it's a good idea to diversify your holdings. Look at other markets or other currencies that don't have anything to do with the USD. Not a bad idea. So if you wanted maybe another one that you could trade this week, Kiwi CAD's probably on that list. All right, Euro USD, back to basics here, guys. It doesn't really get any easier than this for me. 120 to the top side is our key level. That's an area of natural resistance here, setting up for the Euro USD. I really want to stress how flat this market is. And we have a Bollinger Band, how to trade Bollinger Bands, live webinar, live Switch Markets webinar on Thursday. Be sure to check that out. We've already got it scheduled, so go to the Switch Markets channel on YouTube and you go ahead and click, set a reminder so you don't miss this. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to trade Bollinger Bands. And one of the concepts that I'm going to be stressing during this webinar is when the Bollinger Bands turn sort of parallel and they tighten. That really shows us that the market is tight and it's choppy and it's whipsaw, what we call a whipsaw market. So this is a vintage example of a market that's whipsaw and it's flat. Not really much is happening in the Euro USD. We are trading from left to right, right around 117 even. I'm not sure that we're going to go much of anywhere ahead of the FOMC minutes for this pair and NFP. So I would be in a holding pattern. You know, you'd absolutely love to have an opportunity maybe to sell up there at 120. We're about 300 pips away, so I'm not necessarily sure that we're going to get that this week. But when we go to the monthly chart, the analysis really is fairly straightforward, guys. I would be looking at this big macro wave, and it's going to give us sort of a downside support zone that potentially is going to hold up maybe for the rest of the month. 112, so right now we're trading 117 down there at 112.50, but we've also got that 13-period EMA down there at 112.70. You've also got a topside resistance at 120. This is sort of what I would call no man's land. So if you're going to want to trade this, it's probably going to be on shorter time frames. We'll be covering the euro dollar all week long on our live stream, so be sure to drop in and check out one. We'll be looking at the 4-hour chart, maybe in the 30-minute chart, especially around that FOMC minutes release on Wednesday. That's a big one. Okay, so we've got a couple of Forex pairs. Let's check it on our metals markets because it's important that we understand we got some history being made in the gold market. You can see right here on the weekly, we opened on the bull up almost 2%. The high right there, 39.77. We're right up around that 4,000 level. I think this is a fascinating zone to be doing business. Still looking for our trade idea that we put out on how to trade, maybe selling just beneath 4,000, but I think 4,000 comes into play, and that's really a question of what happens above 4,000. We're going to be monitoring that closely as well. That's really the biggest level there. We want to buy pullbacks. We're bullish here, but the problem is getting any sort of swing high to set up and give us an opportunity to bid. We had a few bids last week that turned out pretty good for us in gold, but we're going to have to see a significant pullback here, maybe down around 39.18-ish, 39.20. I don't necessarily know that we get that this week. Watching gold closely. And then, of course, silver. This is very simple, guys. All-time highs 49.81, key levels 50. We're watching for compression right in front of that all-time high. This is one of those where I'm not going to be a net seller from the key level. We're going to wait and see. The reason why, the proximity of that all-time high to 50. If we get a little compression there and then a break, we could move higher quickly. We may not have a chance to get out if we do a counter trend short. So game plan's relatively simple for this week for silver. I'm looking to buy pullbacks. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel, guys. When you get a pullback in a bull market, something that's trending as heavy as silver and gold, then you're just looking for a way into it right there, maybe 47.68, somewhere in that zone. Okay, guys, that's week 41, 2025. If you have any questions at all, swing by the How to Trade trading room. Send me a PM. I'll get right back to you. Or better yet, just go ahead and leave a question or comment on this stream right below in the comments section, and I'll be sure to answer you personally in short order. All right, guys, that's it. Have a fantastic trading week. FOMC minutes, RBNZ, NFP Live are the big movers. Trade the action well, and we'll talk soon. See ya.